Hello and welcome to the Phantom Zone. I am your host Ghost and I am continuing my MCU rewatch journey with arguably the best MCU movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. In the last video, I rewatched arguably the worst MCU movie, Thor: The Dark World, so this complete 180 is really refreshing. This movie is a lot of people's favorite MCU movie. It's definitely one of mine, and for good reason. The action is incredible, the story is thrilling and also full of heart, and the lead protagonist is super inspiring. But is it really the best MCU movie? The action, I think, is the biggest takeaway for most people with this movie, probably because it's so different than anything we've seen up until this point in the MCU. It's fast and dynamic, due in large part to its cinematography and editing. Up until this movie, with the exception of the first Thor movie and its Dutch angles, the MCU has really had the same consistent cinematography. Very clean, very steady, and very safe filmmaking. But Winter Soldier is the first movie that uses a lot of frenetic handheld camera movements that really help with the tension in certain scenes. I mean, the scene on the bridge is a perfect example. This scene is so good for so many reasons. The Winter Soldier comes out of nowhere and catches our heroes off guard. Dude rips Sitwell right out of the vehicle, then rips out the steering wheel. Cap gets blown off the bridge, and later Black Widow straight up gets shot in this scene. And the mildly disorienting camera movements in this scene really helps with the feeling of danger, suspense, and the uncertainty that anything could happen. I love how when Widow goes up against the Winter Soldier, she tries to outthink him by using a voice playback device to try to catch him off guard. He thinks he has the upper hand when he rolls a grenade to flush her out, and there's a quick moment when he is genuinely surprised to see it blow up before seeing her run away to find cover. It's also really cool to see Cap use his shield to redirect a stream of bullets to take down enemies after being pinned down by multiple angles of fire. Then the climax of the scene is the fight between Cap and the Winter Soldier. This fight has been analyzed and talked to death, so there's not a whole lot for me to say that hasn't been said already, but the choreography is unreal. This might be the best hand-to-hand fight in the MCU. Maybe after a Shang-Chi rewatch, I might change my mind, but for now, I am dying on that hill. It's similar with the Bourne movies, where there's a lot of fast cuts, but there's just enough for the audience to understand what's happening. Speaking of action, this movie also buffs Captain America's abilities a lot. There's just so much more weight behind his attacks, and you really feel how powerful he is in a lot of his actions. There's a moment in the beginning on the ship where he kicks a guy so hard he flies overboard. He almost decapitates Batroc when he throws his shield into the command center, then ends up knocking him out by beating him at his own acrobatic game. Right after he fully takes the bait, he knows Batroc is trying to feed him. When Fury gets shot, Steve straight up is running through walls like the Juggernaut to catch the Winter Soldier. Dude takes down a Quinjet in the most insane way ever by flinging around the top of it and perfectly throwing his shield in all the right places. He jumps out of like a 100-story building, lands on the concrete, and just keeps on running.
Are you kidding me?
Even with things like how they demonstrate his speed and when he pulls down his magnetic cuff in the elevator, makes Captain America feel way stronger and more of a badass than his last two appearances. Also, similar things can be said about the Winter Soldier. He is one of the coldest dudes in the MCU. He's so quiet, calm, and in control, which makes him seem more menacing and sinister. He's a cracked shot with any weapon in his arsenal. He's ripping apart cars with his metal arm, not to mention how cool he looks. This might be one of the best costumes in the MCU. It's adapted from the comics perfectly. And when he turns around and catches Cap's shield, that is still one of the coldest moments ever. The idea that the organization Cap tried to take down in his first movie has infiltrated the new one he works for is such a great idea. Even though it kind of undermines his sacrifice in the first movie, but not that much because I get that he crashed the bomber headed for America to save people. It further illustrates why Cap doesn't trust these organizations, which makes a ton of sense on his stance in Civil War. Even before it was revealed that Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. decades ago, Cap was struggling to work for an organization like that because Fury is so secretive. He didn't appreciate being left out of the loop on Widow's side mission on the ship and confronts Nick Fury about it. Then Fury shows Cap what he's been working on, thinking that he would be proud of Project Insight, but Cap couldn't be less supportive. Cap disagrees with
holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
so much so that he then visits his last friend, Peggy, who helped found S.H.I.E.L.D., to tell her that he doesn't know what he's fighting for anymore. This is also a really touching scene because Peggy's there to support him one minute and, due to her dementia, doesn't really remember he's there in the next. Speaking of friends, the moment it's revealed to Cap that the Winter Soldier is really Bucky, but Bucky doesn't even know he's Bucky, is heartbreaking.
Who the hell is Bucky?
I think Captain America's Civil War is slightly better than this movie because I favor the story of Cap throwing everything away just to save and redeem his oldest friend. A part of me wishes that this movie focused a bit more on their relationship, but then I realized that this story is a perfect thematic bridge into Civil War, and Civil War wouldn't be as good without everything that this movie established. This movie still does a really good job of sympathizing for Bucky. After Cap calls him Bucky and is back at the Hydra base, he's unstable because he's trying to remember who he is and he knows that Pierce is lying to him, but can't do anything about it. Pierce orders to reprogram him, and the heartless way that he commands this really shows how badly Bucky's been treated for the last half century. Also, in the final battle on the helicarrier with Cap, Cap refuses to fight him and tries to get him to remember, but Bucky lashes out in anger. Again, heartbreaking. But there's still some hope because he ends up saving Cap from drowning, and in a post-credit scene, he's shown at the Captain America Museum trying to remember who he is. Captain America is such an inspiring protagonist in these movies. He is the closest thing Marvel has to Superman. He knows the difference between right and wrong, and he never compromises his morals for anyone or anything. When all of S.H.I.E.L.D. is after him, he doesn't cave in, and he still saves the day because it's the right thing to do. Even when him and Widow are borrowing a truck, he reminds her to show some respect by telling her to get her feet off the dash. It's little things like this that really show us who Cap is at his core, and it's something that I'd follow into battle any day. I mentioned in my Iron Man 3 video that movie starts the homework trend of needing to watch different movies from other franchises to keep up, and that trend continues in Thor: The Dark World by needing to watch Avengers, but Captain America doesn't follow that trend. I think you can watch Captain America: The First Avenger and then Winter Soldier, and you'll be able to follow it perfectly. From here on out, I'm sure that's something we'll be able to see less and less. Captain Marvel makes this movie less cool for two reasons. The first one is one I'm sure you're thinking about. It's when Fury says,
"Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye."
Just for that someone to turn out to be a cat. But the second one is something that I never noticed until this rewatch. There's a scene in Captain Marvel where Fury says,
Nicholas Joseph Fury. You have 3 names?
Everybody calls me Fury. Not Nicholas, not Joseph, not Nick. Just Fury.
What did your mom call you?
Fury?
What do you call her?
Fury.
What about your kids?
If I have them, they'll call me Fury.
But there are multiple times where different people call Fury Nick.
Nick? I know Nick. That's the problem.
Don't do this to me, Nick.
That photo was taken 5 years after Nick and I met.
It's literally a plot hole that easily could have been avoided if they didn't include this line in Captain Marvel, but now that line will slightly annoy me anytime I rewatch this movie. Overall, I don't think this is the best MCU movie, but it's undoubtedly a top 5 MCU movie. Probably top 3, depending on the day. I think Civil War has a slight edge over Winter Soldier, but they both need each other to reach their full potential. They both make each other better movies. With that said, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video, and let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.